Hello everyone! In this video I will give you a little tour of the robot and its rig I've made for my upcoming short film. Even though it might not look like it, this is by far the most complex rig I've ever made, including those in my Mastering Drivers video course. It consists of 167 bones with several drivers and an add-on that helps with some of the functionality. I will start off by demonstrating how to use it before showing you how it is working. Select the armature and enter pose mode. When you are in here, the controls are available here on the right side. Let's start from the bottom. The resolution is currently set to the highest possible value, which makes the robot mesh full quality, but also very unresponsive in the viewport. Let's move it to 0 and apply for this demonstration. As you can see, we have a bunch of bones in the viewport that we can rotate and move around to control it. Something a bit special about this robot is that almost every bone only has a single axis of motion. Mechanically, all these different rotations have been split up, so they are happening in different places on the robot. This is also why it ended up so complex, but more on that later. Looking at the hands, you can see that I added kind of mechanical muscles that are supposed to look like they are pulling and pushing the hand into different orientations. In reality, rig-wise, it is the hand rotation that moves the muscles using drivers. Looking a bit more at the face, we can control the eye's direction by moving around this bone. The eyes are currently staring straight forward into the distance, but by scaling it down, the eyes converges as if the robot is looking at something right in front of him. This bone allows us to rotate the eyebrows for an angry or scared look, as well as open and close the eyelids. All of these bones control both eyes at once, since they will most often be synced. If I ever need to animate them separately, I have separate controls on this second hidden layer. Looking more in the control panel, I added a simple button that resets the location, rotation and scale of every bone, simply resetting the pose. I have also added a few controls that allows me to choose how the mop and bucket behaves. This will allow me to place and move them around as I need, like putting the mop in the hands of the robot. The most interesting and complex control, however, is the one on the top, which allows you to set the root bone of the armature. By default, the torso is the root, meaning that I can move around the entire robot by moving it. But I can also at any time switch the root to one of the feet. Let's take the right one and select Set Root. The controls changed a bit in the viewport, and now it is the right foot that is the master. This allows me to pose the rest of the robot as if it is standing on that foot. Let's make it take a step forward, perhaps walking up some steps. With that done, we can easily switch to the other foot. First switch it to the torso again, and then to the left foot. Now the left foot is the master, so we can make it take another step, lifting up the other foot. Let's set it back to torso root again. Now we have made a very simple climb animation, where it switches the weight between the two feet. Now, why such a complex setup with an add-on and root switching just to be able to put a foot in place? In a regular character, one would usually place a foot on the ground using something called an IK, inverse kinematic constraint, which figures out how all bones should be bent for the foot to end up in a certain location. That way, it always stays in place, even if you move the rest of the character. However, after a lot of experimenting, I was not able to make this work well for my robot. This is because different bones along the chain only rotate in a certain direction. Since I didn't see a way it could be done using the standard Blender tools for this rig, I decided that I needed to make a code solution instead. In short, the main idea is that I have two copies of each leg. One with the normal bone direction, with the bones being parented from the torso out to the feet. Then I have a copy with the inverse relationship, going from the foot and out. When I click Set Root, I switch between the two. This means that I need to make sure that these two versions of the leg line up exactly. That way I can hide one leg and show the other without the switch being visible. I made quite a few attempts before I found a way that works. The method I ended up using was to, through code, add a bunch of constraints to the bones in one of the legs, so everything lines up with the other leg copy. Then I apply the visual transformation, the transformation made by the constraints, which allows me to remove the constraints again. Now I can hide the old leg and show the new one, and the switch will be invisible. After doing this, all necessary information is stored in keyframes. This makes sure the alignment always works, including when playing back animation, or if the set of keyframes are moved around, copied, or deleted. Now all my add-on has to do to keep things working when we change the frame is to make sure that the correct version of the leg is visible. This gives it a fairly good performance since it only has to do those heavy alignments once and not on playback. The robot and the rig is available for download on the site for everyone who has bought premium access, so you can play with it yourself and/or take a look at the code. Thanks and see you soon in the next video.